It's Michelle, chemistry PhD, cosmetic chemist, and owner of Purple Hair. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 hair hacks that changed my routine. I'm pretty lazy with my hair care, I'm really bad at sticking to routines, so these won't be high effort hacks, they're things that you can do quite easily. They range from cheap to expensive, so hopefully there's something in here that makes a big difference for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, let's get into it. Crocodile clips. I don't know why it took me 30 years to discover these. They're called crocodile or jointed clips, and they have this cool mechanism that expands to grab a big chunk of hair or whatever else you need to grab. I don't know your life. I have a lot of heavy hair, so I've just had decades of weak little clips struggling to hold onto my hair, and maybe I just didn't love myself enough to look for a solution, but one of these will just clamp onto more than half my hair with no dramas. These cost less than $1 or $2 depending on how fancy you go. I use them for everything hair related apart from clipping my fringe. I use them in the shower, on wet and on dry hair, for treatments, for dyeing my hair, clipping up my hair when it's really hot and I don't have to leave the house so no one has to see my great style. I used one for clipping a towel around my partner's shoulders when I did his quarantine haircuts. I've even used them for clipping my clothes back during videos and clipping back curtains. I would recommend getting rubberized ones that aren't too smooth because they grip hair a bit better and they're also easier to hold onto when they're wet. I would also recommend getting some with some sort of texture on the finger grips so they don't slip out and launch across the bathroom when your hands are covered in conditioner. Learn from my fail. My hair used to snap teeth off claw clips all the time. This is a highly recommended quality of life upgrade. Treat yourself to a $1 clip. Cornstarch as dry shampoo. I know a lot of people love how convenient dry shampoo is, but I found that the sprays can make my scalp feel really irritated, and a lot of the scents are just a bit too heavy for me. But I do have a fringe and oily skin, which means it gets gross and greasy. And I just start looking like I never grew out of my 9-inch nails phase, which is kinda true. I did use a dry shampoo that was like a shaker once, and it turns out the main ingredient was starch. I couldn't actually find it again, and then one time I was putting on my translucent powder, which is starch-based, and I thought, what if I just dusted on my fringe? And it worked. The cheaper version is just using cornstarch from the grocery store with a fluffy brush. If your hair is dark, then it can look a little bit grey, but once you brush it and pat it down a bit, it goes away. Maybe try it out first on a day when it's not right before an important event. Some people also use it at night. I actually do this a lot of the time before filming, like today when I haven't planned my schedule well enough to have a nice clean fringe. I guess a sub-tip here is don't use dry shampoo too much and stop if you get any sores or breakouts. Dry shampoo doesn't entirely replace actual shampoo, and too much gunk and build-up on your scalp just isn't very good for it. I think this is actually the reason some people say particular products are making their hair fall out. On that note, try shampooing only your scalp and only condition below your ears. This is a tip that I think most people already know, but if you don't, this has been completely life-changing for me. The idea is basically the hair near your scalp doesn't really need conditioner, it already gets a lot of oil from your scalp, which is actually why it needs to be shampooed. It's also less damaged because it just hasn't been around for as long, it's not old and bitter yet, so it's still pretty smooth. Plus, most modern shampoos have small amounts of conditioning ingredients in them like polyquaterniums. These leave a very light protective coating on your hair that can smooth it out, protect it against more damage, also reduce static. So unless your shampoo is making your hair very squeaky, it's probably got some conditioning that should be enough for most people's roots. So conditioner near your scalp might not really be adding much to your whole hair experience, but it can cause buildup on your scalp and make it irritated. Now with the lengths, they're far away from your scalp so they don't get much oil. The main reason your hair gets dirty is because of all this oil and all the dust and dirt that sticks to it like a really gross cold. I'm really sorry, I am not having a good analogy day today. So it might not actually need to be cleansed with shampoo, and this obviously doesn't apply for shampoos with other functions like purple shampoo. So for most people, directly shampooing the lengths just dries them out, and it can make them more damage without that much payoff with cleaning. The shampoo that trickles down as you rinse can be enough, Plus, hair conditioner actually has cationic surfactants that can do a bit of cleaning. You might still need more shampoo if you use a lot of styling products, and you might need more conditioner if your hair is a bit rougher at the roots. But for a lot of people, I think this is worth trying. My scalp used to get so much buildup and irritation before I stopped putting conditioner on it. Plus, you end up using less products, so it costs you negative money. Reverse conditioning. If you need even deeper conditioning, you might want to try reverse conditioning. This is where you put conditioner on the lengths of your hair before your shampoo, and then shampoo focusing on your scalp. Then you rinse everything out and add a little bit more conditioner if you feel like you need it. The idea is that the conditioner will protect your hair from the shampoo. So it's like a more intense version of the half shampoo, half conditioner tip. Microfiber towel. They're towels that have very small fibers, so they have a large surface area, and that means that they can suck the water out of your hair much faster than a regular towel. My favorite towels for this are the Aquas towels. I've been using these same towels for about 6 years, ever since they sent me a bunch for a sponsored post, full disclosure. But I still use the same ones because they still work really well, and I haven't tried that many other options. I did try some cheaper ones that I got at Hair Expo, but they just didn't work as well, and they had that thing where they sort of clung to your fingers and just felt really icky. Vanessa of Goals to Get Glowing tested a bunch, and she found some cheaper options that work great. She reviewed a bunch of turbans, which are a really handy all-in-one option, but I actually prefer the regular towels because I like being able to control how the ends get twisted because my bleached ends are really fragile. So I put the towel around my hair, I squeeze it a bit to soak up the water, and then I wrap the towel around my head and keep the whole thing in place using, you guessed it, a crocodile clip. These are also a lot lighter than a traditional towel, so I don't get a crick in my neck when I move my head around, and it doesn't lurch off my head and rip my hair out. Nape undercut. This has made such a huge difference for me. Like I said, I have a lot of hair, so one day I just decided to cut off about 1/3 of it. It's not really noticeable when I have my hair out or in a low ponytail, and most people don't actually realize I have one. But it has made a huge difference. It is so much faster to dry my hair. When my hair's wet, my head is a lot less heavy. I also used to get a whole bunch of knots when the strands coming from like the base of my neck would rub against my back, so all of that's gone, and it is a lot cooler during summer. Also, I had so much hair that when I left it out without styling it, I looked a bit like Grug, and just violently hacking off a whole bunch underneath actually gives it a more manageable shape. My biggest worry about this used to be that I would need someone to help me shave it all the time, but I found these clippers that are actually really quite easy to use by feel. It's really hard to cut yourself on these, so I can mostly keep it shaved just by feeling where to shave. And I can almost always do it without accidentally cutting off a whole bunch of long, expensive hair. Every time I accidentally cut some off, I think about how much it costs to bleach it. It's something like 1 cent per hair. It's not super neat around the edges because I do try not to get any of that long hair, so I sometimes get someone to help me neaten it up, but I don't really wear my hair up a lot, so all of that shame is hiding up near the top. Hairdryer with features that you want. I'm really sorry, I hate hacks that are just like, buy this expensive thing, but this made a really big difference for me, getting a hairdryer that had the features I wanted. There are a lot of hairdryers out there, and my wants probably aren't the same as yours. So if you spend a lot of time drying your hair, I really encourage you to do your research and don't just buy a hairdryer that someone else recommends unless it does match your wants too. I've tried a lot of expensive hairdryers, but this Panasonic one just kind of blew my mind. I did do a sponsorship with them for this hairdryer, but this video is not sponsored and I have no obligation to mention it, but I am because it did really change my mind about hairdryers. So the things I really like about this: the nozzle is designed to create an airflow that separates your hair out so it dries faster, so you don't have to be like constantly spreading your hair out with your fingers. I mean, I still do it when I dry my hair, but I have to do it less, which sounds like it doesn't make a big difference, but it does. It has a scalp function, which is a setting that goes pretty much as hot as you can get it without burning your scalp. I'm sure it's too hot for some people, but it is pretty much perfect for me, and so I can zone out without burning my scalp or my fingers. It feels really light, it's really well balanced, so there's no wrist pain. I highly recommend doing this with any hairdryers that you might want to buy. I'm not quite extra enough to pack this with me on holidays, but every time I'm using a hotel hairdryer and my hair is going everywhere and slapping me in the face like hot wet noodles and I'm burning my fingers, I'm reminded of how good this is. DIY colored hair conditioner. If you have brightly colored hair like mine, it's generally done using semi-permanent dyes. These fade out over about 7 washes and they don't damage hair, so you can change your hair color all the time and it's quite fun. The problem is it washes out, and when it's really faded, it tends to look a bit bad, so you have to go get it re-dyed a lot or dye it yourself at home. I started off dyeing it myself at home every second weekend. It would take a couple of hours, but I got sick of that. Then I realized that you could buy colored hair conditioners that deposit a bit of dye on your hair every time you wash it. And then after using those for a bit, I realized in this year of realizing stuff, I could just make my own in any color I wanted with a conditioner that I liked. You just mix the semi-permanent dye into the hair conditioner. Now, this isn't entirely risk-free because when you make your own, there is a chance that you'll mess up the preservative system and end up with mold growing in your product. It is relatively low risk because it is a wash-off product and it's a hair product that doesn't stay on your skin for long, but I would still recommend not mixing up too much at a time. I only mix up about enough for a week, and I make it a bit darker than I need, and I mix it in with my regular hair conditioner in the shower right before using it. Although, to be honest, that's usually because I'm bad at mixing the right amounts together, so there is an upside there. Having this also means I can wash my hair every day, which is what my scalp likes, without worrying about the color ever fading too quickly. Use conditioner as a hair mask. You probably don't need a separate hair mask. Hair masks usually have the same core ingredients as a conditioner, but the main difference is they're usually thicker, so they stay on your hair more easily. So if you have a conditioner that works well for you, you can use it as a mask. It probably won't stay as well on your hair in the shower though, because of all that extra water. You can try wrapping your hair up in cling wrap or a plastic shower cap like a little dumpling to keep it all together, and then clip it with a crocodile clip. I swear I am not being paid by Big Crocodile Clip. Silk pillowcase. I didn't really believe in silk pillowcases at first. I thought they were a bit of a gimmick and people just liked them because they felt nice. But I've actually found that since I started using them, I could really tell when I didn't use one. With the silk, my hair doesn't end up quite as crunchy when I wake up compared to cotton or linen. I think that maybe I wiggle my head around a bit when I sleep and my hair gets rubbed into the pillow, and then when the pillowcase is a bit more frictiony, then it tends to put kinks in my hair. These kinks make my hair feel crunchy and they don't really go away until I wash my hair. It tends to be worse when I go to sleep with damp hair, and it still does this if my hair ends up stuck behind my back against my regular sheets. I also really like using silk scrunchies. It means the hair can slide around a bit so the hair strands don't pull as much on my scalp and make it sore. These are also really good for sleeping in. I have to sleep with my hair in a ponytail, otherwise it starts spreading and trying to colonize my partner's side of the bed. It's a problem. Watch out for MI and MCI. These are pretty common allergens these days. About 1.5% of people are allergic to them. A lot of people don't know about them and they're actually kind of hard to avoid. I am personally allergic to them. They give me a really itchy and irritated scalp with bumps and pimples, and annoyingly they are actually super common in shampoos. Most anti-dandruff shampoos I looked at actually had them. So if you feel like your scalp gets really grumpy with particular products, it might be worth checking for these and seeing what happens when you stop using products with them. This family of preservatives is also in a lot of laundry detergents, so if I use the wrong one, I get super itchy when I put on my clothes, and it always takes me a couple hours before I remember I have an allergy, so that would be another hint. And of course, you can go to a dermatologist to confirm or do more testing if it actually isn't this. I hope these hacks were useful. Let me know if you've tried any of these before or if there's any hacks I missed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also see me on TikTok and Instagram. More videos are popping up around me if you want to nerd out more.